The galactic stage. The vast expanse of the Milky Way had long been a theater of conflict, its spiral arms glowing not just with the light of countless stars, but with the fires of war. For over a millennium, two dominant species had waged a relentless campaign against each other, their struggle for supremacy painting the cosmos in shades of destruction and despair. On one side stood the Zarthak Imperium, a highly advanced civilization of silicon-based lifeforms. Their crystalline bodies housed minds of unparalleled computational power, allowing them to create technologies that seemed like magic to lesser species. The Zarthak valued order above all else, seeking to impose their rigid structure upon the galaxy through force and assimilation. Opposing them were the Velari Collective, a diverse alliance of carbon-based species united under a banner of freedom and self-determination. What the Velari lacked in technological superiority, they made up for in adaptability, creativity, and sheer force of will. Their fleets, though often outgunned, fought with a ferocity born of desperation and hope. For centuries, the two factions had been locked in a stalemate. The Zarthak's superior technology allowed them to hold vast swathes of space with minimal effort, their automated defense systems repelling wave after wave of Velari attacks. But the Velari's resourcefulness and ever-growing alliance prevented the Zarthak from making any significant advancements into their territory. The war had become a grim constant in galactic life. Countless species caught in the crossfire had been forced to choose sides or face annihilation. Entire star systems had been reduced to cosmic debris fields, their planets shattered and stars destabilized by weapons of unimaginable power. The very fabric of space-time bore scars from the conflict, with whole regions rendered impassable due to artificial singularities and temporal distortions. It was in this context of seemingly endless war that a new player emerged on the galactic stage. Far from the front lines of the conflict, in an unremarkable spiral arm of the galaxy, a young species had just taken its first steps into interstellar space. They called themselves humans. The human race, having recently mastered faster-than-light travel, sent out their first wave of explorers with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. These pioneers, aboard their flagship the HSS Odyssey, were unprepared for the scale of the conflict they were about to stumble into. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Odyssey, her dark eyes scanning the holographic displays that surrounded her. The ship had just emerged from hyperspace at the edge of an unexplored star system, and the sensors were painting a picture that defied belief. "What in God's name happened here?" she whispered, taking in the devastation before them. The system's sun was surrounded by a dense field of debris, the shattered remains of what must have once been a thriving civilization. Fragments of space stations and starships drifted listlessly among pulverized chunks of planets and moons. "Captain, I'm detecting residual energy signatures consistent with extremely advanced weapon systems," reported Science Officer Takashi Himura, his fingers dancing over his console. "Based on the decay rates, this destruction occurred no more than a few months ago." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. Humanity had thought itself alone in the galaxy, or at least among the first to achieve interstellar travel. The scene before them spoke not just of other intelligent life, but of civilizations far beyond Earth's level of advancement. "Any signs of survivors?" she asked, though she already suspected the answer. Communications Officer Aisha Mbiki shook her head. "No distress signals, no comm chatter. This system is a graveyard, Captain." As the crew of the Odyssey grappled with the implications of their discovery, they were unaware that they too were being observed. At the very edge of the system, cloaked by technology far beyond human understanding, a Zarthak scout ship watched with growing interest. Aboard the crystalline vessel, the Zarthak commander, a being that would be best described to human eyes as a sentient, geometric sculpture, processed the data streaming in about the newcomers. The humans' technology was primitive by Zarthak standards, yet there was something about their ship design, their approach to the devastated system, that piqued the commander's curiosity. "Analyze their capabilities," the commander ordered, its thoughts transmitted instantly to the ship's eye, determined their potential threat level and strategic value. As the Zarthak ship silently compiled its report, light years away, a Velari outpost picked up faint traces of the human vessel's hyperspace wake. General Lyra Vosh, a veteran of countless battles against the Zarthak, found herself intrigued by the readings. A new species, she mused, her iridescent scales shifting color with her changing mood. And they've achieved faster than light travel. How? Interesting. Lyra knew the value of fresh allies in this war of attrition. If these newcomers could be persuaded to join the Velari cause, it could shift the balance of power. But first, they would need to be contacted, their capabilities assessed. Dispatch a diplomatic vessel, she ordered her subordinates. Let's extend a hand of friendship to these humans, and pray they have the wisdom to accept it. As the Velari ship prepared to depart, neither they nor the humans, nor even the observing Zarthak, could have predicted the seismic shift that was about to rock the foundations of their millennia-old conflict. Humanity, with its unique blend of ingenuity, adaptability, and sheer audacity, was about to be thrust onto the galactic stage. The wars that had raged for 1,000 years were about to meet a force unlike any they had encountered before. A species that, in the face of overwhelming odds and incomprehensible technologies, would not bow, would not break, but would instead rise to heights that would leave the galaxy in awe. For in the coming days, when humans truly joined the war, it would be over in hours, and nothing in the cosmos would ever be the same again. First contact and assessment. The HSS Odyssey hung in space at the edge of the devastated star system, its crew still reeling from the implications of their discovery. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood at the center of the bridge, her mind racing with possibilities and potential courses of action. Takashi, I want a full analysis of the weapon signatures we've detected. Aisha, keep scanning for any form of communication, no matter how faint. We need to understand what happened here, Elena ordered, her voice steady despite the tension evident in her posture. As the crew worked feverishly to unravel the mystery before them, they remained oblivious to the attention they had attracted. The cloaked Zarthak scout ship, having completed its initial analysis, began a more thorough examination of the human vessel. The Zarthak commander, its crystalline form pulsing with energy, processed the data with growing interest. These humans, it communicated to its subordinates. Their technology is primitive, yet I detect potential. Their ship design suggests a practical ingenuity, and their reaction to the devastation, curious. They exhibit signs of empathy, yet also a ruthless determination to understand. As the Zarthak deliberated on whether to initiate contact, the situation suddenly became more complex. At the outer reaches of the system, a flash of light heralded the arrival of a Velari diplomatic vessel. Aboard the Velari ship, General Lyra Vosh watched the holographic display of the human vessel with keen interest. They're still here, she noted, her scales shimmering with anticipation. Prepare the first contact protocols. We must approach with caution, but also with openness. These humans could be the allies we've been waiting for. Back on the Odyssey, alarms suddenly blared to life. Captain, Aisha called out, her eyes wide. We're detecting 2 vessels entering the system. Their energy signatures are off the charts. Nothing like we've ever seen before. The leanest heart raced, but her voice remained calm as she issued orders. Shields up. Prepare for evasive maneuvers if necessary, but do not, I repeat, do not power up weapons. We're not here to fight. As the crew braced themselves, the comm system crackled to life with a message in perfect, if slightly accented, English. Greetings, humans of Earth. We are the Velari, and we come in peace. We have much to discuss. Moments later, a second message, this one sounding almost artificially generated, came through. Human vessel. We are the Zarthak. Your presence has been noted. Prepare for evaluation. Elena exchanged glances with her senior officers, the gravity of the situation sinking in. They weren't just first explorers anymore. They had become first contact specialists, diplomats, and potentially the deciding factor in an interstellar war. Open channels to both vessels, Alina commanded. Let's hear what they have to say. What followed was a crash course in galactic politics for the crew of the Odyssey. The Velari, represented by the charismatic General Lyra Vosh, painted a picture of a freedom-loving alliance fighting against the oppressive regime of the Zarthak. They spoke of worlds liberated, of diverse species coming together in the name of self-determination. The Zarthak, in contrast, presented themselves as bringers of order to a chaotic galaxy. Their representative, the crystalline Commander Zexlor, spoke of the inefficiencies of organic life, the benefits of their advanced technology, and the peace that would come from universal unity under Zarthak rule. As Alina and her crew listened to both sides, they began to grasp the enormity of the conflict they had stumbled into. This wasn't just a war. It was a clash of ideologies that spanned the galaxy. "Captain," Takeshi whispered during a brief recess in the talks, "I've been analyzing the data we've gathered. The level of technology both sides possess, it's beyond anything we could have imagined. Either one could likely destroy Earth with ease if they chose to." Elena nodded grimly. "Then we need to make sure they don't choose to. We're walking a tightrope here, Takashi. One false step and humanity could become collateral damage in this war." As the discussions resumed, both the Velari and the Zarthak began to probe the humans' capabilities and intentions. They were particularly interested in Earth's history of warfare and technological development. "You've achieved faster-than-light travel mere centuries after discovering electricity," Lyra asked, unable to hide her amazement. "The rate of your technological advancement is unprecedented." The Zarthak commander's response was more measured but no less intrigued. "Your species has a history of rapid adaptation in the face of challenges. This could be useful." As the hours stretched on, it became clear that both factions saw potential in humanity. The Velari were drawn to humans' creativity and adaptability, seeing in them kindred spirits in their fight for freedom. The Zarthak, while dismissive of human emotion, were impressed by humanity's logical problem-solving skills and rapid technological progress. Alina, for her part, was walking the diplomatic tightrope. She shared carefully chosen details about Earth and human history, always conscious of the potential consequences of her words. She spoke of humanity's achievements, but also of its conflicts and struggles to overcome its own destructive tendencies. "We come in peace," she reiterated, "but we are not naive. We've seen the destruction in this system. We understand the stakes of your conflict. Earth wants no part in this war, but we also cannot stand idly by while the galaxy burns." Her words seemed to give both the Velari and Zarthak pause. Here was a species that understood war, yet sought peace. A people technologically inferior, yet unafraid to stand their ground. As the initial contact drew to a close, both factions extended invitations to Earth. The Velari offered alliance and protection, a chance to join a coalition of free peoples. The Zarthak, in their own way, offered opportunity, a chance to benefit from their advanced technology in exchange for assistance in bringing order to the galaxy. Elena, knowing the weight of history rested on her shoulders, gave a response that would be remembered for generations to come. "On behalf of Earth, I thank you both for your offers. We will consider them carefully. But know this, humanity will chart its own course in this galaxy. We are not pawns to be used, nor children to be protected. We are explorers, innovators, and when necessary, warriors. Whatever role we play in this conflict will be of our own choosing." As the Odyssey prepared to return to Earth with news that would forever change human history, neither the Velari nor the Zarthak fully grasped the significance of this encounter. They had extended their hands to what they perceived as a young, malleable race, hoping to gain an advantage in their age-old war. What they failed to realize was that they had just introduced an unpredictable, wild-card element into their carefully balanced conflict. Humanity, with its unique blend of ingenuity, adaptability, and sheer determination, was about to upset the galactic status quo in ways none could have foreseen. For in the coming days, when humans fully joined the war, it would be over in hours, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The human strategy unfolds. The return of the HSS Odyssey to Earth marked the beginning of a new era for humanity. The news of alien civilizations and an ongoing galactic war sent shockwaves through every nation, every institution, and every individual on the planet. The world's leaders, scientists, and military strategists convened in an unprecedented global summit to determine humanity's course of action. At the center of these discussions was Admiral Zhao Chen, a brilliant tactician known for his unorthodox approaches to complex problems. As he studied the reports from the Odyssey and the data on the Zarthak and Velari conflict, a plan began to form in his mind. "We cannot join either side directly," Zhao announced to the assembly of world leaders. "To do so would make us pawns in their game, expendable assets in a war we barely understand. Instead, we must position ourselves as a third force, one that can tip the scales decisively." His words were met with a mixture of skepticism and intrigue. "And how do you propose we do that, Admiral?" asked the Secretary General of the United Nations. "Our technology is centuries behind theirs. We'd be bringing knives to a gunfight with weapons we can't even comprehend." Zhao's eyes glinted with determination. "That perceived weakness is our greatest strength. They underestimate us, and that gives us the element of surprise. We won't fight them on their terms. We'll change the nature of the conflict itself." Over the next few months, Earth became a hive of activity. Under Zhao's guidance, a multi-pronged strategy was developed that leveraged humanity's unique strengths. First, a team of engineers and physicists, led by Dr. Amelia Okoye, began reverse engineering the faster-than-light drive of the Odyssey. Their goal wasn't to replicate the advanced technology of the Zarthak or Velari, but to understand its principles and find unconventional applications. "We don't need to match their level of advancement," Amelia explained to her team. "We just need to use what we have in ways they've never considered." Meanwhile, a group of hackers and AI specialists, headed by the enigmatic programmer known only as Ghost, worked tirelessly to develop a new kind of cyber warfare. Their systems were designed to be adaptive, unpredictable, and capable of interfacing with alien technology in ways its creators never anticipated. The Zarthak think their computational superiority makes them invulnerable. Ghost mused as lines of code scrolled across multiple screens. "Let's show them the chaos that can lurk in simplicity." The third prong of the strategy involved diplomacy and intelligence gathering. A team of Earth's most skilled negotiators and spies, led by the charismatic and cunning Isabella Reyes, was tasked with gathering information from both the Zarthak and Velari without committing to either side. "Our job," Isabella briefed her team, "is to keep both sides interested in us, to learn everything we can about their strengths and weaknesses, all while revealing as little as possible about our true intentions." As these preparations were underway, humanity also began to expand its presence in space. New ships were constructed, combining Earth's existing technology with the principles learned from studying the Odyssey's FTL drive. These vessels were not meant to match the firepower of Zarthak or Velari ships, but to be fast, stealthy, and highly adaptable. 6 months after the Odyssey's return, Earth was ready to make its move. A small fleet of 10 ships, led by the newly commissioned SS Prometheus, under the command of Captain Elena Rodriguez, prepared to depart for the front lines of the galactic war. Before their departure, Admiral Zhao addressed the crew. "You carry with you the hopes of humanity and the future of our species in the galaxy. Remember, our goal is not to win their war, but to end it. Use your ingenuity, your adaptability, and above all, the element of surprise. Show them what humans can do." As the fleet departed, tensions on Earth remained high. The success of this mission would determine humanity's place in the galactic community, or potentially lead to its destruction. The journey to the war zone was tense but uneventful. Using the intelligence gathered by Isabella's team, the human fleet managed to slip through the front lines undetected, positioning themselves at a critical juncture between Zarthak and Valari space. Their arrival did not go unnoticed for long. Soon, the human ships found themselves faced with a Zarthak battle group on one side and a Valari defense fleet on the other. "This is Captain Elena Rodriguez of that HS Prometheus," Elena broadcast to both fleets. "We come representing the United Earth government with a proposal for both the Zarthak Imperium and the Valari Collective." There was a moment of tense silence before both sides responded, their curiosity overriding their initial impulse to attack these interlopers. What followed was a masterclass in diplomacy and misdirection. Elena, guided by Isabella's training, presented a proposal for a three-way peace conference. As she spoke, Ghost's cyber warfare systems subtly probed both fleets' defenses, gathering crucial data. Meanwhile, Dr. Okoi's modifications to the human ship's FTL drives were put to the test. The ships performed maneuvers that seemed to defy the laws of physics, appearing and disappearing in ways that confused and alarmed both the Zarthak and Valari. "What manner of propulsion is this?" demanded the Zarthak commander, its crystalline form pulsing with agitation. The Valari, too, were taken aback. "Such movements should be impossible with their level of technology," General Lyra Vosch muttered, her scales shifting to a deep blue of confusion. As the aliens' attention was focused on trying to understand the humans' capabilities, they failed to notice the true purpose of these maneuvers. Each jump, each seemingly random movement, was precisely calculated to position the human fleet for their real objective. Suddenly, alarms blared across both alien fleets. Critical systems began to malfunction. Communication channels were flooded with nonsensical data, and weapon targeting systems went haywire. "Now," Elena commanded. In that moment of confusion, the human fleet struck, not with overwhelming firepower, but with precision and purpose. Key command ships were disabled, supply lines were severed, and strategic assets were neutralized. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted less than an hour. When the chaos settled, both the Zarthak and Valari fleets found themselves in disarray, their carefully laid plans and strategies rendered useless. Elena's voice crackled through the comm systems of both fleets. "This demonstration was but a fraction of what humanity is capable of. We came here not to join your war, but to end it. You have two choices: negotiate a lasting peace, or face the full consequences of continuing this conflict with humanity as your opponent." As the human fleet regrouped, ready for whatever response might come, the galaxy held its breath. The war that had raged for a millennium stood on the brink of a resolution, brought about not by overwhelming force or advanced technology, but by human ingenuity, adaptability, and the audacity to change the rules of engagement. The next few hours would determine the fate of not just humanity, but of the entire galaxy. And as Elena looked out at the stars from the bridge of the Prometheus, she knew that nothing would ever be the same again. Alien countermeasures and escalation. The aftermath of the human fleet's audacious intervention left both the Zarthak Imperium and the Valari Collective reeling. For the first time in centuries, the two factions found themselves united in a single purpose: understanding and countering the human threat. In the crystalline halls of the Zarthak Command Center, the high strategist Zexlor pulsed with agitation. How did such primitive beings manage to bypass our defenses? It demanded of its subordinates. Analyze every picosecond of sensor data. I want answers. Meanwhile, aboard the Valari flagship, General Lyra Vosch paced restlessly, her scales flickering between hues of frustration and grudging admiration. "These humans," she mused to her advisors, "they fight unlike any species we've encountered. We must adapt, and quickly." Both factions, long accustomed to the predictable rhythms of their millennia-old conflict, now found themselves scrambling to develop countermeasures against an enemy they barely understood. The Zarthak, true to their nature, approached the problem with cold, computational efficiency. They began by upgrading their cybersecurity protocols, implementing quantum encryption that they believed would be impenetrable to human hacking attempts. Additionally, they started developing new sensor arrays designed to track the erratic movements of human ships. "Let them try their disappearing act now," Zexlor declared as the first of these new systems came online. "We'll predict their movements before they even make them." The Velari took a different approach. Recognizing the humans' adaptability as their greatest strength, the Velari sought to become more unpredictable themselves. They reorganized their fleet formations, implemented randomized communication protocols, and began training their crews in unorthodox tactics inspired by their observations of the human attack. "If we cannot match their ingenuity," Lyra told her officers, "we must at least deny them the ability to anticipate our actions." As these preparations were underway, the human fleet, led by the HS Prometheus, maintained its position at the crossroads of Zarthak and Velari space. Captain Elena Rodriguez knew that their initial success had bought them time, but also that both alien factions would be working tirelessly to neutralize the human advantage. "We've shown them what we can do," Elena addressed her crew. "Now we need to be ready for their response. It won't be long before they test our defenses." She was right. Within days, probing attacks began from both sides. Zarthak scout ships appeared at the edges of the human fleet's sensor range, their new arrays scanning intensively. Velari fighters executed unpredictable maneuvers, testing the humans' reaction times and tactical responses. Each of these encounters was a nerve-wracking chess game. The humans had to demonstrate enough strength to maintain their position of influence, while also concealing the full extent of their capabilities. Every engagement was a calculated risk. During one particularly tense skirmish, a squadron of Velari ships managed to isolate the HSS Artemis, one of the smaller vessels in the human fleet. As the Velari closed in, preparing to disable and board the ship, Captain Rodriguez made a bold decision. "Artemis, execute Protocol Lazarus," she ordered. In an instant, the Artemis appeared to suffer a catastrophic systems failure. Its lights flickered out, and it began to drift lifelessly in space. The Velari, believing they had scored a significant victory, moved in to capture the disabled vessel. It was a trap. As soon as the Velari ships were in range, the Artemis sprang to life. Electromagnetic pulses disabled the Velari vessels, and before they could recover, the Artemis had slipped away, leaving the Velari with nothing but more questions about human capabilities. Similar scenarios played out across the region, as both the Zarthak and Velari probed for weaknesses. Each time, the humans responded with tactics that seemed to defy conventional military logic, keeping their adversaries off balance and increasingly frustrated. But Elena knew they couldn't maintain this stalemate indefinitely. The aliens were learning, adapting, and it was only a matter of time before they launched a major offensive. That moment came sooner than expected. Intelligence gathered by Ghost's cyber warfare team indicated that both the Zarthak and Velari were mobilizing significant forces. They weren't just sending probing attacks anymore. They were preparing for a full-scale assault. "They're coming for us from both sides," Elena informed Admiral Zhao during an emergency communication. "Our intel suggests they've agreed to a temporary ceasefire between themselves to deal with us first." Zhao's holographic image nodded gravely. "As we anticipated, they've recognized us as the greater threat. This is where we implement the final phase of our strategy." Elena felt a mix of anticipation and dread. The plan they were about to set in motion was audacious, relying on split-second timing and technology that had never been tested in full-scale combat. If it worked, it could end the war in one stroke. If it failed, humanity's first foray into galactic politics could be its last. As the combined Zarthak and Velari fleets approached, dwarfing the human vessels in both size and number, Elena addressed her crew one last time. "Everything we've done has led to this moment," she said, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "We came here to end a war, not to start a new one. Remember your training, trust in each other, and let's show the galaxy what humanity is truly capable of." The tension on the bridge was palpable as the alien armadas drew near. Massive Zarthak dreadnoughts, their crystalline hulls glittering ominously, took position on one flank. On the other, the diverse ships of the Velari collective formed an ever-shifting organic battle formation. Belina took a deep breath, her hand hovering over the command console. The next few minutes would determine the fate of not just her fleet, but of Earth itself. As the first salvos from the alien fleets lit up the darkness of space, she gave the order that would change the course of galactic history. All ships, execute Operation Checkmate. In that instant, the greatest battle the galaxy had seen in a millennium began. But it would be a battle unlike any other, fought not just with weapons and ships, but with ingenuity, adaptability, and the indomitable human spirit. The galaxy watched in awe as the human fleet faced off against the combined might of two ancient, technologically superior civilizations. What happened next would be spoken of in hushed tones across the cosmos for generations to come. For when humans truly joined the war, it was over in hours, and nothing would ever be the same again. Swift resolution and aftermath. The void of space erupted into a dazzling display of energy as Operation Checkmate commenced. The human fleet, vastly outnumbered by the combined Zarthak and Velari armadas, seemed to shimmer and multiply. Holographic projections, indistinguishable from real ships, appeared throughout the battlefield, confusing the alien targeting systems. Captain Elena Rodriguez, her eyes fixed on the tactical display, barked out orders in rapid succession. Ghost Squadron, initiate cyber assault. Okoi Team, bring the gravity web online. All ships, execute maneuver Omega-3. The human vessels moved in perfect synchronization, their paths seemingly random yet precisely calculated. As they weaved through the enemy formations, the true genius of humanity's plan unfolded. Dr. Amelia Okoi's modified FTL drives activated, creating localized distortions in spacetime. These distortions formed a complex web that disrupted the alien sensors and communication systems. Ships that moments ago had been in perfect formation now found themselves isolated and disoriented. Simultaneously, Ghost's cyber warfare team launched their attack. Viruses, unlike anything the Zarthak or Velari had encountered, warmed their way through alien firewalls. Command ships suddenly lost control of their weapons, while others found their navigation systems redirecting them away from the battle. "Impossible," exclaimed the Zarthak high strategist Zexlor, its crystalline form vibrating with frustration. "How are they bypassing our quantum encryption?" Aboard the Velari flagship, General Lyra Vosh watched in disbelief as her carefully coordinated fleet fell into disarray. "By the eternal stars," she whispered, "they've turned the very fabric of space against us." The human fleet pressed its advantage. Ships appeared and disappeared, striking with surgical precision before vanishing again. Key command vessels were disabled, supply lines severed, and strategic choke points seized. But the aliens were not going down without a fight. A group of Zarthak battlecruisers, their AI systems operating on localized networks, managed to break through the human formation. They bore down on the HS Prometheus, their weapons charging for a killing blow. Elena's voice remained calm as she ordered, "Prometheus, execute Lazarus Protocol." Just as the Zarthak opened fire, the Prometheus seemed to blink out of existence. The devastating energy beams passed harmlessly through empty space. Moments later, the human flagship reappeared behind the Zarthak vessels, its own weapons already firing. The battle raged on, but with each passing minute, it became clear that the tide had irrevocably turned. The once mighty alien armadas were reduced to scattered groups of ships, struggling to mount any kind of cohesive defense. 3 hours after the battle began, Elena received the transmission she had been waiting for. "Captain," reported her communications officer, "we're receiving surrender signals from both the Zarthak and Velari command ships." A hush fell over the bridge of the Prometheus. They had done it. Humanity, the newcomers to the galactic stage, had ended a war that had raged for a millennium. Elena took a deep breath before responding. Acknowledge their surrender. Inform them that representatives of Earth are ready to discuss terms. In the days that followed, the galaxy witnessed an unprecedented peace conference. The grand halls of a neutral space station hosted delegates from Earth, the Zarthak Imperium, and the Velari Collective. The negotiations were tense, with centuries of hostility and mistrust to overcome. Admiral Zhao Chen, leading the Earth delegation, set the tone for the talks. "We are not here to conquer or subjugate," he declared. "Earth desires neither Zarthak territory nor Velari resources. Our goal is simple: a stable, peaceful galaxy where all species can coexist and flourish." The aliens, still reeling from their defeat, were initially skeptical. But as the discussions progressed, they began to see the humans in a new light. Here was a species that had the power to dominate them, but instead chose to broker peace. Zexlor, representing the Zarthak, was the first to openly acknowledge the shift in perspective. "We have long believed that order could only be achieved through uniformity," it admitted. Perhaps there is wisdom in diversity that we have overlooked." Lyra Vosh, speaking for the Velari, nodded in agreement. "And we, in our zeal for freedom, forgot that true liberty cannot exist in a state of perpetual war. We have much to learn from each other and from humanity." The peace treaty that emerged from these talks would reshape the political landscape of the galaxy. The Zarthak and Velari agreed to end hostilities, with disputed territories transformed into demilitarized zones under joint administration. Earth, despite its pivotal role, asked for no territory or tribute, requesting only open channels for trade and cultural exchange. As news of the peace spread across the galaxy, reactions varied. Many welcomed the end of the long war with jubilation. Others, particularly those who had profited from the conflict, were less enthused. But none could deny the new reality. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and nothing would ever be the same. In the years that followed, the galaxy entered an unprecedented era of peace and cooperation. The Zarthak, their rigid worldview softened by their encounter with humanity, began to explore the benefits of flexibility and emotion. The Velari, inspired by human ingenuity, experienced a renaissance in art and science. Earth, for its part, embraced its new role as a galactic mediator. Human diplomats and peacekeepers became a common sight on worlds across the galaxy, their unique blend of adaptability and empathy making them ideal for resolving conflicts between diverse species. The story of how humanity ended a millennia-long war in mere hours became legend, told and retold across countless worlds. It served as a reminder that true strength lies not in overwhelming force or advanced technology, but in creativity, adaptability, and the courage to change the rules of the game. As Elena Rodriguez, now an admiral herself, stood on the observation deck of Earth's first galactic embassy, she reflected on the incredible journey that had brought them to this point. The stars no longer seemed distant and unreachable, but full of promise and potential. "We came in peace," she murmured, echoing the words she had spoken what felt like a lifetime ago. "And we found our place among the stars." The galaxy, once torn by war, now pulsed with the energy of cooperation and mutual understanding. And at the heart of this new era stood humanity. Not conquerors, not saviors, but partners in the grand cosmic dance of life. For when humans had joined the war, it was over in hours. But the peace they brought, that, it seemed, would last for ages to come.